Do you remember the excitement of field trip days when you were a kid? It was all about going somewhere new, getting out of school, and exploring somewhere that you might not have ever been before. A lot of the learning on a field trip is self-interest and discovery oriented, and that's something that you can replicate very easily with the help of technology in your classroom. These are called virtual field trips, and just like regular field trips, you may have the opportunity to make connections to your curriculum or just find something that your students are interested in and let them explore a little bit more with the help of computers or iPads. Virtual field trips is one of my very favorite things that I get to do in the library at Manu Elementary School because it's a time for students to explore what's interesting and cool to them without having it be something that's very structured. So thinking of what a regular field trip is like, you think about the fact that students are allowed to go and explore. Sometimes it's very hands-on. And it really lacks the requirement of a normal school day. You don't have to fill out worksheets or turn in tests. So I think that that's something to keep in mind when you are learning about virtual field trips. What I have in front of you is a Symbaloo page, and if you're not familiar with Symbaloo, this is a tool that can be used to curate and organize websites. It's very easy. It's obviously visually interesting to look at, and this was just something I created a couple months ago that was a way to collect a bunch of virtual field trips together, so I had something I could easily refer to whenever teachers were interested in doing a virtual field trip. The beauty with virtual field trips versus regular field trips is there's a few. First of all, they're free for the most part. You can find all kinds of resources that are free, and it can be done at any time. And you don't have to worry about traveling, which obviously is a big thing when you're talking about art museums across the world, actually, not just the United States, as well as going back in time. What you have in front of you is kind of organized, and I'll walk you through the different sections. But the thing to remember is that you're not restricted to your area or what you can afford. You are really able to explore so many different topics, so many different curriculum. If you are a science teacher, if you are a literature teacher, there's all different really subjects that you can broach. Another thing to keep in mind is that it can be fun. This is something that I've used with several teachers as a reward for their classes. So if their students earned a special reward, they were able to come to the library, pick a virtual field trip, and explore. There was no writing or assessment at the end of it. So that's something to keep in mind too, that really this should be just like a field trip. You can obviously have a learning component that's wonderful, but we really want to make it something that's fun and will interest and excite our students. The first few that I would like to point out are up here in this in the top, and I'm going to walk you through about two just so that you're able to see what a virtual field trip might entail. Then I'm going to show you the different sections that make up this specific Symbaloo and show you what you might want to explore a little bit further. The first one is the very first field trip I ever took my students on. It was to the National Museum of American History, the Smithsonian up in Washington, D.C. And I had some students who read the book Capture the Flag by Kate Messner. This really interests them because so much of what the book starts is based around the setting. So the setting takes place here in the Smithsonian Museum, and I was able to take them to the museum and explore the same exhibit that gets discussed in the book. The exhibit itself is the flag that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner. So this is just the regular homepage of the Smithsonian Museum, and you'll get to see different exhibits. You can explore history up here on the top, but this is where I want to take you, to the Star-Spangled Banner. And this photo is kind of a good little preview. It actually does a great job of showing you what it would feel like if you were standing in front of the flag, but it's also very interactive, which I think most of these virtual field trips you'll find are. If you're familiar with the term WebQuest, that's kind of like a scavenger hunt that some teachers have created and shared, and they send students on different websites. It's very interactive. This is similar, but this is made by the Smithsonian Museum, and you have all kinds of things. You can do a quiz. Students can explore different parts of the flag. It will, I think this contest is over because they were celebrating the anniversary of the Star Spangled Banner last year. And there's also a connection element. You can write a reflection on it and share your thoughts. But what I want to walk you through is this Interact is one of them. All of these have different things. But the interactive flag is what I want to show you first. This is really neat. You do need Flash. This will not work on an iPad, this specific part. This website will work on an iPad, but this specific part is what you would need Flash for. But see what I mean in terms of it being a very interactive thing. It's going to tell you that each star measures approximately 2 feet across. So when you click on it, it's going to bring you up close, and over here you're going to see a nice close photo of it as well. So this is something that, again, it's all about exploring. You let the kids explore and enjoy and manipulate it on their own. So while it's not hands-on, if you were at the museum, you wouldn't actually get your hands on the flag anyways. I'm going to jump back to an open tab that has what we were looking at previously. And these different tabs, this is one of those things that you have to think about the students that you're working with. If this is something that they're able to read, you know, this is obviously more appropriate for upper elementary through high school. And there's also, this is what's beautiful about the Smithsonian, and a lot of these museums have down somewhere some kind of connection for a teaching resource, and it will give you all different kinds of ideas. I'm going to go back to the Symbaloo. This is one that I really, really recommend that you explore if you are a history teacher. If you read this book in your ELA class, there's wonderful connections to be made. Back here on the Symbaloo, I'd like to walk you through, again, quickly, the Museum of the United States Air Force. This is one that I allowed a group of 4th and 5th graders. Again, this was a reward thing, so I explained to them what they could do. They were not learning about the Air Force. They were not learning about aeronautics. This was just something I thought that they would find interesting and cool, and it was an hour that they were able to explore and ask questions and show each other things, just like we had taken a 1-hour trip to this museum. So if you see over here, this is an interactive map, and it shows if you were to walk in, so we're standing outside. Here we are outside, okay, so they can manipulate a little bit. And let's say we want to walk inside. What you would do is click on one of these little dots, and it's going to show you the perspective of where you are. So here I am standing in the front corridor, and if I click in here, I can read more about this specifically. And if I click on the arrow, I will actually walk to that area, and I will have an opportunity to watch a video about the Holocaust. Or I may get a chance to look at some more of the artifacts. So this is, I mean, it's like you are actually standing. Oh, I can hear it playing. I think I cut it off. Hopefully you heard that, but there's actually a video that's playing in the background. So this is one of those examples of just letting the students feel like they're actually at the museum, walk around, explore. Let me jump to one more. And, you know, one of them even figured out how you could get into the cockpit of a couple of these planes. It was just mind-blowing. Again, I didn't teach them anything. I didn't show them what they had to do. I simply gave them the Symbaloo. I sent them to this page. They manipulated it all on their own. So I want to walk you quickly through these different sections, and I really encourage you as your challenge to explore what may be an option for you to use in your classroom. These are the museums that are very traditional, your history, art, things like that. These ones here are art-based lessons, very, very interesting to explore. And here we have some more geography. This National Geographic activity site is more of that web quest that I discussed, where it's going to walk students through various things. But it's something it may work for you. Down below that first row is all my history things. I try to kind of clump together by topic. And these are where you would learn, obviously here's a tour of Auschwitz. There's a whole World War II museum that's online. And then going back even further in time, you'll see the Civil War as well as the Revolutionary War. Below that, I actually took students on this one. I'll talk about it briefly. This was a trip to the first Thanksgiving. There was not a lot to do with this other than a couple of videos and a slideshow, but it was a subject that was being taught in second grade, and it was something that they were very interested in getting their students a little bit more interactive with the storytelling. So what we were able to do is let the students watch the video and kind of explore the different photographs and come up with their questions. And then the closing activity, we actually decided to do something assessment based, and we had them write a postcard from the first Thanksgiving. So they had to just tell us one cool thing that they learned, and they all did it. I didn't have any issue with getting any students to reflect on what they had learned. They all wanted to report something. So that's one thoughtful way that you could incorporate some kind of assessment to ensure that the students got something out of this tour. Next to that are some science museum kind of based things. And again, I don't have everything here. If you want to Google Science Museum virtual field trip, there's definitely more out there than what I started with here. I know also on your Learn More At section of the page on Quick Tech by TM, there are some science ideas. And please, I really encourage you to share what you find with others on our discussion board. I know that a lot of people are interested in this, and the more that we can communicate, the easier it is to get ideas out there. I'm going to jump to the top right corner. This Connected Classrooms is a thing that's put on by Google. And if you've ever done a Google Hangout, it's a lot like Skype. And they offer all different kinds of videos that have been pre-recorded, and occasionally you can jump in if you plan ahead and get in on some things that happen around the world. And usually what it is, it's like having a guest speaker. And one that I used as an example previously in another presentation was how pasta is made in manufacturing plants in Italy and then shared and distributed around the world. So what kid isn't going to make a connection to, whoa, this is where my spaghetti comes from? So that was a pretty cool one. And this Zoo Atlanta Hangout will show you how that works. So this is specifically about the zoo in Atlanta. And they use the Connected Classrooms and Google Hangouts to talk a lot about the animals and meet with zoologists. I have I have an aquarium here next to it, and then a zoo, so you can kind of see how that would work virtually. So if maybe you're learning about a specific animal and it's difficult for you to get to a zoo that has it, this is something you could explore. Here are some historical places that are mixed in with geography. The National Park Service has some really excellent teaching resources. Some of them are paid. I know that there's a Grand Canyon one that you have to pay in advance, and they only offer a certain amount throughout the year, so that would have to be very specific. But there's always ideas there, and as you can see, I put 2 Grand Canyon ones because I had a 4th grade class who were suddenly very interested in the Grand Canyon after a discussion that we had on Google Earth when we were using the iPads. So we decided to take a tour of the Grand Canyon and learn more about how it was formed, and we talked about landforms and all kinds of things. So sometimes it's just a very organic, spontaneous discussion that will lead to ideas on how to use virtual field trips. The final things I want to point out are just, again, I kind of threw some random things here. This is a Google Lit trip. This is a development recently, and it's one of those things that I think it's really the building stages, but it has a lot of good ideas that might spark something for you to find elsewhere. A couple of those, this is more elementary based, but I have Laura Ingalls Wilder's House. 39 Clues and Magic Tree House are two that work wonderfully with younger grades probably, but these work very well with students who deserve a reward. And what they'll do is it kind of revolves around these book series, but at the same time there's a lot of trivia, there's history, there's geography, so it's still learning, but it's embedded in what looks like a game. Here you have Travel the World from iPads. This is a great website. I highly recommend this if you're using specifically iPads, so you don't have to worry about the issue of flash. And this right here is so cool. This is going on Everest, and it has this really neat background music, and the visuals are phenomenal. So I'll let you explore that one on your own. The last two things are kind of hidden over here, but there are a few more websites. I can't ensure that all of them are live and active. I think they were created within the last couple years. So sometimes the websites, the links obviously stop working, but again, worth looking at to trigger ideas on maybe what we can find to work some more. So I would like to wrap this quick challenge up by just suggesting that you talk to your teammates, talk to people in your PLN, and really talk to your librarian and technology people in your building, because they're full of ideas, and we have the ability to not only help you find something, but plan it as well, and maybe even execute it in our space. You know, the library is a wonderful place where kids really can spread out. They have a chance to collaborate with each other and talk to each other just like they were actually at a museum. So I really recommend that you look into this. Think about it not only as a learning experience, but as a wonderful opportunity where students get a chance to have fun, explore, and discover things on their own.